Think about how good God has been to you. Continue your relationship with God. You love Him and you serve Him. And be thankful to Him for all that He has given to you. And let all that God has given to you by way of talents, gifts, money, resources, and properties, and all of this, may all this come in handy to do what God has called you to do.
The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness. They are new. They are new every morning. New. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness.
Sam Cheladurai invites you to a special pastor seminar at AFT Chennai on the 20th, 21st and 22nd of January 2016 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Please note that all messages will be in Tamil only. Prior registration with a fee of Rs 700 is required. You can register online at www.refsam.org or you can call us at the numbers on the screen. We look forward to seeing you there.
The Gospel according to John, chapter 14, first 3 verses. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. This passage talks about how God loves us so much that He wants us to be where He is forever, eternally. He doesn't want us to be in one place and Him in another place. His ultimate plan is to bring us all together as a family so that we all be together in one place, the one and the same place. So today I want to talk about heaven, the place that God has been preparing for us, and the life in heaven, and what heaven means to us today. I want to talk about this because I hope that through this you can see the love of God, what God thinks about you and I, what kind of a life He has planned for us after this life is over. That will give you a revelation of God's love. Now, we all understand how valuable our home is. Now, in this country, most of us live in rented places. And I remember as a young boy growing up, we lived in a rented place when I was young for 17 years in one place. And as a result of 17 years of being in one place, I got so attached to the place that when we moved from that place, even though the place where we moved to was a whole lot better than the place we were in for 17 years, it was a big improvement in so many ways. A lot more comfort, a lot more space, a whole lot better. But still I missed the old place because that's the place I knew. That's the place I thought of as home for 17 years. So it took me some time to get adjusted to it. But today we live like nomads, We just move every day almost, And even people that rent us homes today don't rent us for more than 11 months, So moving has become a very ordinary thing nowadays. We keep moving from one place to another. We don't think much about it. Plus, all our children and our family are scattered all over the place in this country and abroad. Most of us have children living outside of this country and so on, going to school or working. This has become a common thing in this country now. So, but that still reinforces the idea of home. You ask all those young people that are living far away, no matter where they go, there is home. Home where the parents are, home where their loved ones are. Wherever your loved ones are, that's where your home is. I've been traveling. 2 weeks ago, I was in Sri Lanka. It was a nice place. We stayed in a nice place, had nice food. Have you ever had Sri Lankan chicken curry? Sri Lankan fish curry. I came with a packet of masala, So it was wonderful food, wonderful hotel, good comfort, everything. But still, you don't want to stay there forever, no matter how good it is. They had 50 different things to eat for you for lunch, At home, hardly 4 or 5 things, but still you want to come home because it's not about how many dishes are there. It's about who's there. Where your loved ones are, that's where your home is. I was in Coimbatore for 3 days. Wonderful place. We had wonderful meetings, stayed in a nice place, ate good food. Wherever we went, they took care of us so well. But still, home is home. There is no place like home. Amen? So, we moved to so many places. I lived in several rented places before I bought my own place. And when I bought my own place, everybody said, well, this is now permanent. But I think I'm still going to make one more move in my life. And that is a move when I go from this earth to heaven. And that's not happening anytime soon, I hope. It's going to be some time away. But I'm sure of this move. I don't look upon my home, even though nice it is. It is so nice and good. And I'm thankful to God for a good home. But even then, I don't think of it as a permanent home. I think there is a home that is far better and nicer and superior to this home that I have on this earth. Amen? And I like the way that Jesus calls it. Heaven has been called by so many names in the Bible. I like the way that Jesus calls it here in verse 2 in this chapter. He says, in my Father's house, he says. Father's house. I like that. Father's house gives us an idea of the kind of closeness, intimacy, and comfort, and all these things, are attached to that idea of Father's house. Father's house. Heaven is our Father's house, he says. Now, I'm going to prepare a place for you, he says. And if it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. There are many mansions there in my Father's house. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I'll come again and receive you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. That's the thing. That's the thing that to me reveals God's love. God doesn't want to be separated from us. Where He is, He wants us to be there. He wants us to be together with Him. So He says, I'm going to go prepare a place. C.S. Lewis has written many wonderful books, and one of his finest books is Mere Christianity. There he says that heaven is like a tailor-made place for us. Today we are used to ready-mades. Now, ready-mades are fine. There's some good brands and so on. But, some of us have long arms. And some of us have short arms. So they make one size, approximately. And for some of us, the arm is too short or too long, or something missing. Some of us have broader hips than the others. So the shirt is pulling this way and that way. But tailor-made shirts are different. Clothes are different. They are made to fit you exactly, made specifically for you, to your liking, to your size. Inch by inch, everything is according to your size. That's why tailor-made shirts and pants are very expensive. Abroad, in the Western countries, you'll pay 5-6 times, sometimes 10 times more than a ready-made thing, because it's tailor-made, made for you specially. And C.S. Lewis says that's how our residence in heaven is made for us like a tailor-made to suit us, to fit our likings, our requirements, our expectations, our visions, and so on. And the reason why Jesus was saying all of these things in John chapter 4 is very interesting. Look at how it starts. The chapter starts like this. Let not your heart be troubled. Why? Why is he saying that? Because the cross is approaching. He's going to die on the cross. He's been with them so long. Now he's talking to the disciples. Cross is going to happen soon. So he wants to offer some words of comfort and some hope to them. So he says, let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I'll come again and receive you to myself, so that you'll be where I am. These are words of comfort he's offering to the disciples as he's getting ready to depart from them and go back to the Father after his death and burial and resurrection and so on. The point is, he says, where I am, you will be also. Wherever our loved ones are, that's where our home is. And we love him more than anything else. And where he is, that is our home. So there is an inbuilt longing in every Christian for that home. Inbuilt longing for that home. And the whole idea is to be together with him. The importance of being together with him, being with him, is emphasized in so many passages in the scriptures. Let me just give you some samples. You don't have to turn to it, but you may take it down maybe. This verse in verse 3, is one verse. But then let's go to Luke chapter 23 and verse 43. Jesus said to the thief on the cross, he said, today you'll be with me in paradise. Today you will be with me. He's looking at a man who's going to die with him on the cross that day, along with him. And he says, today you will be with me. What words of comfort. He says, you close your eyes here, my friend. You're going to open your eyes and you're going to look at me there. You will be where I am. We become friends. You have invited me into your life. You have made me your Lord. You have believed and put your faith in me. Don't worry, you may die here, but I'm going to meet you there, and you are going to be with me in paradise, he says. 2 Corinthians 5:8 is another verse where he's talking about how we leave this body, this earthly body, and we go to a house that we have not built and so on. And he says this, we are confident, yes, well pleased rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. Absent from the body, to be present with the Lord. The idea is being with him, right? Being with him. It's so important that we understand that being with him is not an ordinary thing. That is the most wonderful privilege of every believer, that in this life you can have fellowship with Christ, but when you close your eyes, you'll open your eyes in heaven with him and be with him forever and ever. He says, I want to be present with the Lord. I want to move from here and go there and be present with the Lord. Philippians 1:23 is another verse. Paul wrote about his own death. He talks about his death. He says, I don't know which one to choose, whether to die or to stay. That's a good dilemma, isn't Have you ever seen any Christian talk like that? I don't know whether I want to stay or go. I would like to stay, he says, because if I stay, it'll be good for you. You'll benefit because I'll go around preaching and teaching, and it'll be good for you. But if I go, it's good for me. He says, I'm hard-pressed between the two, going and staying, he says. I'm hard-pressed between the two, having a desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is far better than staying here, he says. He says, going there and being with him is far better. To stay here on my part is a sacrifice, he says. It's far lesser. It's not far better. Staying here, I'm going to sacrifice and stay here some more because you may benefit through my ministry, he says. But it's going to be far better if I go there. This man understands heaven very well and what heaven is all about. 1 Thessalonians 4:17 is another verse, important verse, where it talks about the end time events and how the resurrection of the dead is going to happen, how that they which are alive are going to be caught up together with him and so on. In that he says, after a lengthy presentation on what's going to happen in the end, look at what he says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 17. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And now look, thus we shall always be with the Lord. Being with the Lord. That's the whole point of it. We shall always be with the Lord. So the idea is, when Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you, if it were not so, I would have told you, but I go to prepare a place. When I'm done, I'm going to come back and get you so that you can be where I am, he says, to be with him. Now, today, a lot of people don't want to even talk about heaven. Like one woman said, she didn't want to talk about heaven because she said, what happens if heaven is not there? My children will be disappointed. I don't want to tell my children about heaven because if there is no such thing as heaven, then my children will be totally disappointed. But my point is, lady, if there is no heaven, if there is no afterlife, if there is no life after this one, then how can you be disappointed? You will not be there to be disappointed. Don't worry. Don't worry about how heaven will not be there, but you will be there and you will be so disappointed. No. If heaven is not there, then if there is no afterlife, there is no life after this life, there is nowhere you're going to wake up after you close your eyes here. If there is no life after this life, then don't worry. There won't be any disappointment. You'll disappear. No disappointment. There will be disappearance. Others say, we don't want to talk about heaven because we are here on earth. Let's talk about earth. Their ideas, I can understand what they're saying because they're saying, you don't want to be talking about heaven too much here. Let's concentrate on the earth and this life now. Because they see a lot of people talking about heaven, but do not live their life successfully here on earth. They totally neglect this life and consider this life as unimportant because they are heavenly minded. That's why we say they're so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. They're so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. They think to believe in heaven, to talk about heaven, and so on, means to totally ignore this present life, and it doesn't matter how you live like in this world. So they say, people that believe in golden streets in heaven don't fix the potholes on these streets. Because they say, we're going to go to golden streets in heaven. Why bother with the potholes here? Let it be as they are. Because anytime he's coming, we're going, and it doesn't matter if the potholes are there. That's their point. Some other Christians say, we are so well settled now. Why you want to disturb us talking about heaven? I just got my home all redone, air-conditioned. It's already feeling like heaven. Got a good wife, good children, and good salary, good income, good business. Everything is going fine. I got a peaceful, good life. Why do you want to disturb me, brother? I'm fine here. This is heaven. This heaven is good enough for me. Don't bother me. For so many reasons, people don't want to talk about heaven. Even churches don't talk about heaven anymore. where I remember, they used to sing a lot about heaven. And the thing, equation was tilting the other way, to the other extreme back in those days. We always talked about heaven, never about earth, We were so heavenly minded, no earthly good. We always have this tendency, Christians. But that's wrong, you see. We live on earth. God wants our life here on earth to be like a miniature heaven. There is no doubt about it. My life on this earth is important to me. If you ask me, it is very important. It is very meaningful. It is very purposeful. I wake up every day with meaning and purpose. I desire to live as long as I can live and spend my days doing what God has called me to do. Life has meaning for me. I don't live like, there's heaven, forget about this. No, that's not my attitude. But at the same time, I'm not engrossed with this life so much that I live like a person that there is no heaven, that there is no future. C.S. Lewis again says that if you examine history, Christian history, and study the life of the saints of the Christian church, you will find that those who believed in a life after this life, believed in God, believed that there is a God, and believed in life after this life, and believed that when you close your eyes here, you'll open your eyes there, that you will have to give account to God for all that He has given to you by way of gifts and talents and abilities and days and years on this earth. There is an accountability involved, a stewardship involved. Those who believe like that, those who believe in a heaven, those who believe in a God, those who believe that we have to give account to God one day, they accomplish greater things for God than those people that believe there is no such thing as heaven. Now, it's very true, but in Christianity, the devil has done a big, brought a big confusion. See, the devil is a confuser. The main tactic is to confuse people regarding issues, regarding life, regarding everything, bring about a confusion so that you are just utterly confused about what everything is. So, about future and life after this life and all that, you know how the devil confused us? When I was little, they always told me, you are not going to take anything with you. You're not going to take your house. You're not going to take your money. You're not going to take your gold, your silver. You're not going to take your land. You're not going to take your house. And I said, yeah. See, I had a simple mind, I said, sure, they're right. You're not going to take anything. They'll say, look at that man. He had so much. He left everything and he went. Look at this woman. She had so much. What is the use? No use having so much, because when you die, you leave everything and go. So the kind of message that came to me was, no use having anything. So that kind of philosophy leads to living a life without any motivation to learn anything, to study anything, to go and work and to really earn and really build up your life and live a fruitful, useful life, Some of us can live a life where we can employ 100, 200 people, 500 people, 1,000 people. We have such abilities and talents and gifts, but some guy gets in there and says, don't worry, you are not going to take anything. Why you're trying so hard? Why you're trying so hard? Because you're not going to take anything. You try to, save money, buy a little piece of land, and take a loan and build a house. Now half your salary goes towards the loan, and you've paid so much and try to build something nice for your family and so on. And you call the preacher to come and pray and dedicate the place. He says, well, all this is fine, but what are you going to take with you? Now, I grew up in a situation, this is what I heard. Now, such dedication is not necessary. What are you dedicating? For a guy to come and say, are you going to take this with you? When I go to a place to dedicate, I say, wonderful that God has given to you. Think about how good God has been to you. Continue your relationship with God. You love Him and you serve Him. And be thankful to Him for all that He has given to you. And let all that God has given to you by way of talents, gifts, money, resources, and properties and all of this, may all this come in handy to do what God has called you to do. Accomplish your mission in life. May you be blessed even more. May you be empowered even more. May you go out and do what God has called you to do. That's what all these, God gives into your hands all these resources so that you can do what you are supposed to do as part of His plan and purpose.
In your presence, there is fullness of joy. At your right hand, there are pleasures evermore. You surround us with your favor, oh Lord. The earth is full of your goodness. The earth is filled with your love. In your presence, there is fullness of joy. At your right hand, there are pleasures evermore. You surround us with your favor, oh Lord. The earth is full of your goodness. The earth is filled with your exceedingly, abundantly, far above all we could ever ask or think. Exceedingly, abundantly, you give us all things to enjoy. In your presence, there is fullness of joy. At your right hand, there are pleasures evermore. Surround us with your favor, oh Lord. The earth is full of your goodness. The earth is filled in your presence. In your presence, there is fullness of joy. At your right hand, there are pleasures evermore. You surround us with your favor, oh Lord.